Every time someone says gold's run is over, it just keeps going higher.
The precious metal is once again trading in very lofty territory. It is now up at the moment by about $7.40 to $913.20 a troy ounce. Even the experts, except for Peter, of course, have had a hard time predicting where it'll go next, as we will show you in just a second. However, our Fox panelist, Peter Schiff, is going to take a stab at it. He's back with us now. Okay, so we got to get to this Goldman Sachs story. And we put together some graphics so that people could understand it. November 29th of last year, 2007, Goldman Sachs, after saying that there had been a great run-up in gold, recommended to investors to short gold this year, 2008. But then changed the day of the calendar. Less than 2 months later, January 11th, Goldman Sachs upgraded 2008 gold price forecast on weakness of the dollar and a few other things, and the average price outlook. What is an investor to make of this when they make a trade based on what happened on November 29th, where Goldman said, short gold now?
Well, first of all, you have to realize that when brokerage firms publicly state something, you have no idea what they're actually doing. I mean, how do we know, what Goldman's motivation was? They said that shorting gold stocks was going to be the best trade of 2008. And so far, it's probably the worst. But how do you know Goldman wasn't trying to buy gold stocks? And they figured they'd talk it down a little bit. I mean,
and
you don't know.
Buy it cheaper.
That's right. I mean,
we don't know that, by the way.
No, I don't know that, but you just can't listen to somebody say something and say, "Oh, I'm going to do that," because you have no idea. They don't necessarily have any vested interest to people who happen to hear what they're talking about.
Now, the interesting thing is that Goldman is the company that was actually betting both ways on the subprime mess.
Well, sure.
It actually made some money betting against the subprime securities, made about $4 billion, but lost about $2 billion betting for it. So they may have been taking both sides of this.
Sure, but I'm sure that Goldman was talking to their clients and packaging these things and encouraging people to buy. At the same time, they were shorting them.
Is that ethical?
I don't know. I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, maybe they're not the same people. I mean, look, I don't know what was going on during the dot-coms.
Could be the London office versus the U.S. But if I'm a Goldman investor and I'm a client. And I'm looking at these missives that come out, and I say on November 29th, oh, gee, they're saying to short gold. These guys are really smart, going to follow that.
Look, I mean,
less than 2 months later, had I had a longer short position, longer in duration, aren't I burned?
Yeah. I mean, of course, maybe Goldman could say we meant short it in January of 2008. Maybe they're saying we wanted you to wait for the rally. I don't know what their real strategy was. But, I've been buying gold since 1999 in gold stocks, and along the way, everybody's trying to call the top. And that's what happens. Just like in a bear market, everybody's prematurely trying to call the bottom, like we're having now in the stock market. People are trying to call the top in gold. We are nowhere near the top. This is going to be a replay of the 1970s, maybe bigger. Gold went up 24 times in that bull market, 24 times. We've only tripled so far. We're just getting started.
But it's been on a run since the start of 2008 when Goldman said to start shorting it. We just want to mention this hotel fire once again. We have water hoses now directed right at the fire that is at the Monte Carlo casino right on the Las Vegas Strip. Apparently there were some workers trapped. You can see just below that rooftop area to the right, I believe, you see the water hoses going to the lower part of what appears to be the fire, probably trying to stem any further spread of this.
It looks like they are making some progress on that. Before, we just saw a raging flame that was coming out of those rooms, and apparently that flame has been quelled somewhat by the fire hoses, so we are hopeful about that. We haven't heard about whether those 4 workers who were trapped have been saved. In fact, we've been contacting hospitals, or hospitals have been contacted by other news organizations. No reports yet of injuries or fatalities.
Back to this Goldman thing as we continue to keep our eye on the Monte Carlo fire, Peter. What is the overall message here? Don't just believe every missive that comes out of a brokerage firm, no matter how brilliant the people are who run it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, they don't have a great track record. I mean, look at Wall Street's touting all these dot-com stocks in the 1990s, and people got burned. And then they went out and touted all these subprime mortgages. And there's a lot of other debt that they've packaged that is also going to collapse. So you got to do your own homework, especially
quickly. The price of gold a year from now?
Well, it's going to be a lot higher. I don't know how much higher, but it's going to be a lot higher.
All right, Peter, thanks very much.
We should point out that we invited Goldman Sachs to provide a representative to come on with us, but they did decline. Goldman also declined to provide us with a statement.
We'll be right back with the latest on the fire in Vegas.